Hello everyone, welcome back to Sketchbook Sessions episode number 2. It's a beautiful day and I'm going to be spending a little bit of time in my sketchbook today. And so this is the second painting, the first one with the magnolia flowers in watercolour pencils. And now I've decided I'm going to be painting using acrylics. I'm using my bulldog clips just to stop the paper warping too much as it's a water-based medium. And using a reference of some sunflowers that I got for my birthday last year. Got my paintbrushes ready and using a variety of different acrylics and just adding the background. So what I thought about today was talking about inspiration and where I find my inspiration and how to stay inspired on a daily basis. I think trying to be a professional artist and making a good career of it is really about showing up in the studio every day, and even if you don't particularly feel like it, it's just pushing through and keeping going and making sure that you do turn up every day to your studio and get that practice in where you need to. So my inspiration comes from a lot of what I see day to day. Every time I walk to school or go for a walk in the woods or whatever, I'm always looking around me to see some of the things that just catch my eye, whether they're beautiful colours or where the sunlight kind of dapples through the trees. It's just fascinating, and I think I always wonder how easy that would be to capture that in a drawing or capture that on canvas. So I'm always making little notes in my bullet journal when I get home, making little notes about some of the things that I've seen, some of the paintings or drawings that I could possibly do in the future, and just making sure that I write it down and don't forget, really. The other way I look for inspiration is online, Instagram and Facebook. There are some amazing artists out there, and I'm just so inspired by looking at their work, especially if they show little video clips of how they work, their techniques and their procedures for how things are done. And also YouTube channels. There's so many YouTube channels out there now that you can go to and just try and, if you're starting off in acrylics, how to get started and different techniques that you can use. There's so much information now online on the internet. It's just amazing. So that's a really good way to get inspired, just to watch other YouTubers, watch other artists, have a look at their Instagram posts and just get a feel for different, take parts of what you love, parts of what you like. Obviously don't copy what these artists are doing, but just taking inspiration from the way that they work, the different brush strokes that they use, possibly the different colour palettes that they use. It's just so fascinating that everybody can be so different. And, even if we all had the same reference photo, everyone's style would be slightly different, unless you're, a forger and you're trying to copy exactly and the original artist's techniques and, the outcome is going to be an exact copy. But we all have our, even if we're using the same medium, the outcome will be slightly different, which is really fascinating. I just love to look at that. Another way which I found recently is that I wanted to look at some old masters possibly, but I didn't really know where to start. So I looked into some of the artists that I learnt about at school, but a lot of the time I didn't really know their names or could remember the title of the painting, so it's quite difficult to look it up online. So what I did was, instead of going and buying or going to a bookstore and buying something that was brand new and not really knowing whether it was good or not, I decided to go to my local Oxfam shop where I live and just see what they had in their art section, whether they had any reference books, whether they had any books about the great artists, the old masters and that kind of thing. And I was just astonished at the amount of books that they had, art-based book. It was just bliss, just heaven. And I was in there, time just disappeared, and I was looking through all of these different books and just flicking through the pages and seeing which books that would really feed my inspiration, just by looking at the paintings in the book, reading about the artist, finding out a little bit about their life and their background and what made them tick and what kept them inspired and what they wanted to paint, what they painted over and over again, what they mastered, through the ages. It was just fascinating, and I ended up coming away with about 7 books, really heavy art books, and it was just bliss. I came home, sat on the floor with a cup of tea and just flicked through all of the pages. I found a book on Lowry and his life, so there's no actual pictures in this book, but there's so much that I didn't know about him, and it's just really fascinating to work out. And you can feel the inspiration just flowing into your body, knowing that once you read about it, you just want to get going and just want to get at your desk, wherever you work, you just want to get some paint in your hands, some pencils in your hands, and just get to work. The other one I found was a really old book by Sister Wendy. I don't know if you remember her. There used to be a television program on when I was a teenager, and I used to love it. She was so knowledgeable and just amazing to watch. And actually her book, it's all about the history of painting. So it starts off with the cave drawings, cave paintings, and then works all the way up through the Renaissance and to all of the great Impressionists. And it's just an amazing book, and I think it was produced in the 80s, so it's as old as me, and it's just fascinating. So that was another one I found a book on Waterhouse, and some of these paintings I remember looking at school, the Lady of Shalott and all of those amazing, the detail in the clothes that they were wearing, the water detail, it's just so fascinating. Another great painter which I've always loved is Monet, and the light and the brush strokes and just the overall, because I've always thought that I wanted to get the painting or the drawing, starting off with colour pencils, as close to the reference photo as I could. And that was my aim, really, to try and get such a likeness that it almost looked photographic. And as time's gone on, and as I've started picking up the paintbrush, I've actually realised that I kind of want to go a little bit backwards from that. I want to actually be a bit more economical with my brush strokes and not try to get it to look as close to the reference photo, but to use the techniques of the paintbrush to blend. And when you zoom in or when you look really closely, there's not much there, but the impression when you stand back is just amazing. And I'm fascinated by this stage at the moment, Impressionist work. So that Monet book was just amazing. What a find. Another book I found was one on acrylic techniques. So that's going to be really useful for the future as well, just to work out all of the different ways that you can use paint. So I really urge you to go into your local Oxfam or charity shop and just see what they have in the art section. You don't have to spend a fortune. I came away with about 7 books, really big chunky books, and I think I spent about £20, which is just a bargain. It's just amazing. So I just wanted to talk a little bit about this painting. I'm kind of happy with the overall look, lots and lots of layers. It was a really good experiment, just wanted the colours to be bright. So, getting that practice in, keep showing up and keep inspired.